Thanks for tuning into the Hidden Tracks podcast. You can find us wherever you find podcasts or listen to music. When you have an opportunity, please give us a 5-star review, write a little note, tell us how we're doing. We really appreciate it. It helps us keep this thing going. If you want to reach out to us, you can find us at Facebook at Hidden Tracks. Instagram is at HiddenTracks99, and if you'd like to send in submissions or talk to us or give us any feedback about what we're doing, our email is myhiddentracks99@gmail.com. Thank you so much again for tuning in, and I hope you enjoy the show.
Can't go on anymore. Someone show me the door. You gotta find a better way and get the hell out of this place. It's no way to be. Don't want to be a bore. Just want fun, nothing more. You gotta find a way to choose. 'Cause don't you know you might lose everything if you don't. Does it serve? You really gotta let it go. Did you really think you could control anything anyway? So keep kicking the rock down the sidewalk, spit in the wind as the earth spins.
What's up, everybody? Another week, another edition of the show. This week, I have Grady and Mike from the awesome band Dagwood out of Connecticut. Welcome to the show, guys.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Well, let's get this out of the way first. When people start to listen to music, and in the world that we live in of genre labels and subgenres and all these different types of things, if you had to throw a label on yourself so people would know what pocket you fit into, let me get Grady. What would you say your genre is?
I think these days we say power pop, just the easiest way for people to sort of understand what we're doing.
I like that. I recently called a band or an individual's project power pop, and I got a email back, power pop what? And then I had to, describe what power pop meant to me, because maybe people have different versions of what it means. To me, it's harmonies, melodies, a little bit of fuzzy guitars, and awesome musicianship with good songwriting. I'm like, that's what power pop is to me. Is that my accurate description of what you're calling power pop?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, that sounds about right to me. Yeah. I think you nailed it. Yeah.
So, no, continue.
I was just going to say, I think it is one of those things that everybody that knows it just kind of has a different idea of what that means to them, because there are, like a lot of genres and stuff. There's a lot of nuance to it.
Yeah, and power pop, like that's my honey hole. Like that's my bands. That's where, for me, it's Sloan, Posies, Teenage Fan Club, Super Drag. Like those are the bands for me that like really solidified what power pop meant and how it could be done perfectly. And the things that come and fall into that lane, I just love, because I think it's a genre that's kind of forgotten about and not given enough love when it comes to, the bands that I just named aren't huge, right? But people kind of know the names of those bands, but they've never made it big, and it just like never kind of had its foothold in the music industry for like to be a real force to be reckoned with when it came to music. So, by me just saying that, I mean, how do you guys feel about that type of genre? And if you're labeling yourself that, are you okay with possibly falling into lines with those bands that I just named and maybe not ever being that huge powerhouse of a band?
Yeah. And I mean, I love all those bands too. I think that the term power pop can be sort of, there's two different connotations. I think the way I see it is it's great songwriting, great melody with, maybe loud guitars a lot of the times. But I think that there's another type of power pop that's maybe seen as a little hokey or wimpy, which I like that stuff too. But
me not so much. If you ask all four of us, like, what our definition of power pop might be, I think it's probably slightly different. I think we kind of pull from different places and kind of arrive at, wherever we arrive at.
And I think we all have a different view. I'm starting to figure this out lately, but I think we all have a different idea of like what we're even doing as a band, because like, some other, Tim sometimes will be talking and he'll be like, yeah, we're like deconstructing hardcore and he's saying all these things. And I'm just like, I don't understand what you're talking about, but I like that you have that take on it. So it's like all of our different, like our brains are all in different places, but together, like we create this one sort of entity.
Yeah. I love like this kind of trying to come up with a complex answer to what should be an easy question. Now, I don't know who's gonna be a better storyteller when it comes to this, but when it comes down to how you guys became a band, who has probably a better version or telling of the story, or would you both give the same exact verbatim word for word of how the band?
I feel like I could start it, and Mike just feel free to jump in if. But we sort of all met through, for whatever reason, when we were really young. I think I might have been in middle school. Ska was really a thing in Connecticut. And looking back, I really wonder why, of all places, Connecticut.
Not just ska, but ska core. So there was this weird crossover between ska and hardcore that was like huge at the time when we were younger.
Before I knew about that, Mike was in a ska band in my high school. So Mike and I went to the same high school. Mike was in a ska band that was very cool. Like the whole school would go see them. But soon after that, we got into ska core, which a band called the Flaming Tsunamis was sort of the one band that we all sort of gravitated towards, and we all met that way. We sort of got from there. We sort of got into maybe more of like a hardcore scene. One of the bands that was sort of the glue, that the way I see it, one of the main bands that we, was part of the scene that we were in was Hostage Calm, which Tim,
our bass player,
Tim now is in Dagwood. Help me out here, Mike.
So basically we kind of all like grew up going to shows in Connecticut and like punk, hardcore, ska, basement, whatever, DIY kind of stuff. Knew each other, since we were teenagers, essentially. We're in various bands together and separate. Eventually, me and Grady were in a band together. That band broke up. We asked Killian to play drums with us, and we had our friend Andrew, who was playing bass with us at the time. This became Dagwood. Eventually, Andrew moved on to other stuff, and Tim joined when his old band, Hostage Calm, kind of ended. And we've kind of been going with that lineup since like 2016, 2017, something like that.
Yeah, before this, we were in like a really fast band. It was like fast, melodic. We were trying to do like a Kid Dynamite, Lifetime kind of thing, which was sort of similar to what like Title Fight. Then Title Fight sort of like came out, and that's what they were doing. So it was sort of like that. And we actually booked them we booked them on their first tour with Tiger's Jaw in New Haven. So that was sort of like the world we were a part of and where our heads were at. But then when Dagwood started, we sort of made a rule, and Killian didn't even play drums. He just contacted us and asked us, you know, do you want to come over and work on some demos? Like after that band sort of fizzled out, he was like, do you want to come over? I'll help you write some demos. I'll figure out how to play drums just for some bad recordings. And then he's still our drummer now. So it's sort of stuck. And we sort of came up with some rules, like loose rules at the time, like no fast beats. So we were sort of trying to do something a little more thoughtful. At least that's how I see it. Like, I felt like we were sort of taking it down a notch. And like, even though some of the stuff was still sounded punk, we were kind of going for more of a thing. Like, we were into the band Oscar at the time.
Yeah.
And that was sort of what we were trying to go and do something like that, as opposed to like really fast, you know, hardcore Kid Dynamite style, you sort of like urgent thing. We were slowing it down a little bit, and the lyrics became a little more introspective. And I don't know if it really comes across, but that's sort of where we were at the time.
Well, I think listening to, you know, the earlier versions of the band from like 2013 and stuff, I guess I can see where some of that stuff, you know, the Lifetime Kid Dynamite comes through, and then to where you are today with your latest EP, Pollyanna Visions. I mean, you can tell there's been a change, and for me, for the better. You know, it's not to discredit what came out earlier, and what you built your foundation on, but to where it is, to where Pollyanna Visions is. I mean, to me, it's night and day, and it's, you know, it's what brought me fully into you to go listen to all the older stuff too, because I need to do my homework on a band and not just pretend like I've listened to your stuff, but listen to everything thoroughly, so I can be like, wow, there is some amazing growth, and there's some steps, and lyrically and musically, like it has just jumped leaps and bounds. And, you know, thank you for that.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Now, I want to, you know, from the point of the band, I want to get a little personal with each of you. And I'm going to start with Grady first. You know, that there's some pivotal moments in everyone's life, especially when it comes to music. And usually it's like the first time you hear music and it connects with you at a very young age. Do you kind of remember the first time as a young child, like if you grew up in a musical household or something, when you first heard something that kind of made your ears stand up and want to know more about music?
Yeah, for me, I think it was pretty young. My dad is a musician, and he would have his friends over, and they would practice in the basement, stuff like that. He would also show me, he worked on a public access show called Euphonious Mode. And he used to show me, like, we used to watch it on TV, and it was mostly folk artists and stuff like that. And then, you know, we'd watch his friends on this show, and looking back, a lot of them were actually really good, a lot of these musicians and songwriters. But then they would come over for dinner. So it was but then there was another day where I was watching Elvis on television, and I asked my parents, I was probably like 3. I asked them, when's Elvis coming over? Because I just thought that people on TV, musicians you see on TV, are going to come over. Like, just was this thing I made up in my head. But
from the public access show, right?
Yeah. And so I guess I followed in his footsteps in 2 ways. We've done stuff on public access, and, you know, do music and stuff. So, yeah, I mean, I think that's basically. And then when I was maybe 10, my dad showed me the Ramones, and that was sort of what started to get me into that kind of music.
Wow. Now, because it was public access, so I'm going to ask this question, because this is because Elvis is a big part of my life. Mine was Beach Boys and Elvis were like the first 2 things that piqued my interest when I was very, very young. And it was because it was on PBS, and it was a commercial to buy the VHS for the Elvis's 68 comeback special. And that's what they were showing. And that's what made me fall in love with Elvis.
I think that might've been the VHS I was being shown at the time. It might've been the one. Yeah.
that was the, he was so handsome and his black leather on stage, and like that was, I had no idea what it was, and I was like, what? I think I was like 6 or 7 when I saw it after I found out who the Beach Boys were, and that was my dive into. And it was, I remember it was on PBS because they were trying to sell the VHS, for donations.
Wild. PBS, public access TV. All that good stuff.
Hey, I still watch Antique Roadshow when there's nothing on TV, and that's on PBS.
Yo, I do too. I went to Antiques Roadshow maybe a year ago with
nice.
a friend. Dude, it was really fun, actually.
Was it?
Yeah, just walking around, seeing all the weird people with all the weird stuff.
Was there like long lines to get shit appraised? Like, did you find something to get appraised?
Yeah. Yeah, like my girlfriend's mom had some tapestries and stuff from like Germany or Hungary or something that she was like, oh, these are super old, whatever. And we got them appraised, and they're like, yeah, we waited in line, maybe like 20 minutes, half an hour in the summer, and they're like, oh yeah, that's mass produced. Like, it's probably like worth $15 or something. We're like, all right, cool. Thanks. But it was a good time.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Mike, for you, music, why don't you, same question.
Sure.
Applies.
So let's see. I don't have any musicians in my family really, so it's a bit different. But the first thing I remember really hearing that I connected with, and this was probably like the Third Eye Blind self-titled record when I was in elementary school. I heard the song Semi-Charmed Life on the radio, and for some reason my dad bought me the CD, even though you probably shouldn't buy that for a third grader. Who knows, maybe. No. But and then through there just kind of got a little bit older, got into punk through, like a lot of people, like just through like seeing stuff on MTV and Blink 182, and then from there got into like Rancid, Operation Ivy. This is all in middle school, and then started going to local shows when I was in 7th or 8th grade, and just kind of fell in love with music that way. And just kind of never stopped since then.
Yeah. And I mean, you guys brought it up earlier with this, like, I'm always interested because it's happened, quite a few times on the show. The word ska came up in the pocket that was there. But what's interesting to me is because like it wasn't, and I grew up in the 80s and 90s, like those were my years, and like ska wasn't something that was popular, right? Where it was easy to get to ska music. It wasn't an easy style of music it was never broadcast on MTV or it wasn't on the radio. So it was always interesting to me when there are pockets of kids that really got into ska, because there's also not many ska bands, like, and when I say not many, let me put it this way: not many good ska bands.
No, absolutely not.
It was really weird. I look back and I wonder, like, especially, I don't know where you live, but
New Jersey, northern New Jersey. I'm not that far away.
Oh yeah,
so it was the
you're
weirdest
in the ska
thing.
triangle. Then
looking back, like, I find it so odd that, like, I think that in every high school, in every town in Connecticut, there was at least one ska band. It felt that way, at least. I mean, it was like this massive thing where there was entire shows that every band was ska,
but it was a very hyper local.
The music thing, the music sounds like it's this sonically just sounds like you're at the beach or something. It sounds like something would be like in
the inside of a 9-year-old's brain. Yeah,
but like, why Connecticut? Like, it's half the places that they were playing were these, like, I don't know, like seeing a ska band on a bleak, cold Connecticut night just doesn't really make sense. But it was there. Like, every show was ska for some reason.
Yeah, it really does. It fascinates me. Like, the last person we had that mentioned it, like, was from like Scranton and Pennsylvania, and I'm just like, it's just so weird because it wasn't this dynamic, huge thing. I mean, yeah, I want to say the first ones that really blew up were like the Bosstones. But again, when it came to ska and where I break it down to like if there are good bands, it's usually because the vocalist is so different, and that's what resonates with you. Because once you start adding horns to things and guitar, like it just all kind of sounds exactly the fucking same. And I'm just like, I just didn't understand why it resonated so well with people.
I mean,
and
no, I don't either.
It's weird.
It just seemed to be like what was happening. Like I remember there was a band called Johnny Nine and the Racers, and then Mike's band was called Incorporate This, and it was like the whole school would go, and it was I don't know, it was just like it was massive, and it was just like it was the most, you know, for in middle school, it was just the only exciting thing happening. And the only shows that were happening. So I just thought, oh, this must be cool.
This must be what people do with shows. They just
and I took it for granted. I just thought this will be around forever.
Well, it's not, and that's okay.
Yep,
that's totally fine.
Yeah,
it had its time. I'm fine with never having to hear another horn possibly in music.
Played by high schoolers too. I mean.
Well, that too. I mean, maybe parents also thought it wasn't as bad as punk rock shows because like the band kids were in it, like actual band kids, because they were playing
it was a little more friendly.
Yeah. So when you start finding music, you know, Grady, you mentioned Elvis and Dad with folksy stuff. Like when you found your music, what was the very first artist that you found to that you attached yourself to, that you thought that you found and were so proud of having this music that no one else had?
I mean, I'm not even, you know, embarrassed to say it. It's just the truth. It was Blink-182 for me. It was just kind of like what was the first thing that you would see. And I remember in 6th grade, I got so deep into that. And it's cool because it led me to, you know, underground punk music and everything. And it was crazy. It was like, it felt like I had found something that, you know, actually was mine, even though there were probably like, you know, millions of people listening to that. But just that kind of feeling of like being able to, you know, be a kid and go into your room and listen to music and feel like you're in your own world. And then kind of starting to feel like, oh, I want to play music too. This would be fun. It was just like, it was pretty special. Yeah.
Well, and I go back a lot of times with bands like that where, you know, when that is a pivotal part for people and especially musicians themselves, where they are today, I'm like, I always look at it as they kind of prove that you didn't have to be great at something, and they kind of looked like us and talked like us, and, you know, necessarily at that time were they great musicians. They clearly are now, and songwriting and stuff, it kind of made it accessible to the point where you could start a band like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think that with a lot of bands, I don't know, like Blink-182, even stuff like that, I think it's a gateway to a whole other world. It's like I've heard them described as like a Fisher Price of punk. I think Mark Hoppus described themselves that way. And with stuff like that, there's a whole universe that it opens up, you know, after if you follow the thread long enough. But I don't see that I can't imagine people listen to like Imagine Dragons or stuff like that. I don't know like
how long that
what if that really leads anywhere, you know, like there's so much there in just like,
once you turn over that rock, and if it's something that you're into, then, you know, it's just kind of an endless ocean of stuff to discover.
Yeah, it's like it's piece one of a Lego set, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
You can continue to build and build and build on it, and I think that's what, like, especially that punk sound and even the alternative sound in the 90s, like it just made it accessible for people, and there was so much more you could do with it. And that's like, I always go back to, you know, I grew up in the 80s and the 90s and the pivotal points of music, but like when I was a kid and watching hair metal and glam metal, I knew there was no fucking way I could ever do any of that. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
I knew I wasn't going to be able to play some of those licks. I knew I wasn't going to be able to look like that. I knew I wasn't going to be. And then all of a sudden you get, you know, like a Nirvana and a Green Day come along and you're like, oh, I can do that though. And it just leads you to so many different places that like, and that's kind of where like how you used Imagine Dragons. Yeah. If I heard Imagine Dragons as a kid, and that's the first thing that I'm led to. I'm like, yeah, there's no way I can do that.
Yeah, it sounds like it was created in a lab or something.
Yeah,
not by humans.
Yeah, and that's, for me, that's always been the thing. Like it's okay if it's not the greatest right away, but it leads to other things, like, and leading to other bands that, build on that and get better off of that and become and create things off of that. Like that's the best part about, music.
I think that's a big part of like what we're doing as a band. Like we, to be honest, none of us are really that great at, being musicians. Like we don't have musical chops in that way, but we're really obsessed with songwriting and how to say a lot with very little. That's something that, that's like a sort of
something
mantra
we pride ourselves on a bit.
Yeah. It's like, and it's kind of all we have to really work with, because like we don't have that many musical chops. And so we just try to create great songs that, as best as we can, with the melody and the lyrics and everything like that. We try to just make a powerful song with very little musicianship.
Well, I tend to disagree, but because you've done a great job so far, and I think the musicianship is just swell.
Thank you.
We'll take it.
Yeah, I'll allow it. Yeah.
Now, so if Grady, Blink-182 is the one you held on to, Mike, how about you? What was that first band that you pulled onto and you felt was your own at that time?
That was Mike. I said.
Oh, sorry,
Mike was Blink. So Grady's got.
I think similarly, like the Ramones were just like, I don't know, like I think that it just did something to my brain where that's just the lens which I view music through. And just exactly the thing you're talking about of like, just, they just created great songs and sort of created a new genre with very little musicianship, but the songs are really smart and really dumb at the same time. And I just love that. I love anything like that falls into that pocket where the dumbest person and the smartest person in the room can both appreciate it. That's often a goal with writing music for me.
Awesome. Now, when you started playing music and you rushed out to find like-minded people to create music and you got together and you probably spent more time coming up with a logo or the name of a band, what was the very first name of your very first band?
Grady already said mine. It was called Incorporate This, and it was a ska band that I had in high school that I also, speaking to our poor musicianship, like ska is supposed to be played like the guitars on like the offbeat or upbeat or something like that. And I didn't know how to do that. So I would play everything the opposite of how you're supposed to do it, and played throughout all of high school doing that until somebody was like, hey, like that's not how you do that. So my first band, was called Incorporate This, and was a ska band that was not really a ska band if you're going on technicalities. But Grady's got a good one too.
The A+ Ninjas was the first band that I was in. And I didn't choose that band name, but it was I don't know how that band name came, and I never liked it, but you know what it was? I think that like somebody got a test back and it said A+ nice job, and they thought it said A+ Ninjas, and they were like, we're going to call our band this. And I was like, okay. But I think that I don't know if I don't think I had a real band before that.
That might end up in a top 5 of worst first band names ever on this show.
It's pretty bad.
It's really bad.
Yeah.
The A+, yeah.
Now, Grady, what was the very first concert you attended?
First concert?
Don't be bashful with something your parents took you to that you didn't want to go to.
Yeah, I think when I remember being, I think I might have been like 4 years old, and I saw Mary Chapin Carpenter.
Okay. Right up there with some of mine. So mine was Kenny Rogers, and my second one was Barbara Mandrell. So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So
I believe that was the first one. Yeah, that I can remember.
Now, how about the first one you got to pick?
I went to a Nickelodeon concert It was called the All That Music and More Festival, and I think Nick Cannon performed. Bewitched, LFO.
Whoa.
I think those are the only ones I can remember. There's a bunch of artists that performed at that. Keenan and Kel were there. It was yeah.
Wow, nice music festival for your first thing you got to pick.
Yeah,
that's awesome. Mike, how about you? What was the first concert you ever went to, and then the first one you ever got to pick, if they're different?
Yeah, I honestly can't remember if there was one I went to before the one that I picked, so I'll just go with that one. It was kind of like the local rock station radio festival. I grew up in California, in like this Bay Area, San Francisco. So it was called BFD, and I'm trying to remember who played. I know that Cypress Hill played. Rob Zombie was there. Like,
how old were you?
I was like 12, 13.
Wow.
My friend's mom took me and him to it. And so in like Newfound Glory, Goldfinger, I remember seeing those bands. I remember seeing POD, and I think
so. There's a little bit of Christianity with Cypress Hill there. Right?
I guess so. Yeah, I don't know. I remember that was the first time I ever smelled weed was at the Cypress Hill show, and I had no idea what was going on. And I remember the guy from Goldfinger throwing his guitar into the crowd, and my little kid brain not being able to comprehend how somebody could do that. I still don't know if I can. And yeah, I don't remember too much from that one, but other than a few bits and pieces.
All right. Do you have a concert, Mike, that stands out in your mind? Like that's one you're never going to forget that stands the test of time to this day?
I definitely have a bunch. Let's see. One of them, the one that I definitely won't forget is the final Have Heart show in Boston. I guess they're playing shows again now, but this is probably like, I forget when, 2010 or something. I went up with some friends to see Have Heart. The last show, I remember during the last song, I was up on stage trying to pile on top of everybody and sing along, but fell down to the bottom and got crushed by a bunch of people. And one of the few times in my life, I was like, I might actually just, die here because there's just a massive pile on top. But
very memorable.
Yeah. So
yeah.
Can't really forget that.
Almost
but the
died.
show was great. It was sick. And yeah.
Great until almost death. Yeah. So
yeah. I mean, awesome. as soon as I popped back up, I was like, let's do it again. But yeah.
Grady, how about you? Do you have a favorite show that stands out in your mind right now?
I can't think of any with like a crazy story attached to it, but one of the first like sort of like underground music shows. Like I had been to concerts and stuff, but I think one of the first things I went to was I saw Andrew WK, Murphy's Law, and The Locust. And seeing The Locust, like it was just, I don't know if you're familiar with them, but they wore these like bug costumes on stage, and their music was like totally spazzed out, kind of grindcore stuff. And I was just, I don't know. I think I was in 7th grade, and I just did not know what was happening. And that was like my first time ever seeing like sort of not concerts, but going to like a show, where there was like underground bands, like this whole other world that I didn't know about, seeing kind of older kids like that were a little older than me. Like, and yeah, I don't know. That's
and Andrew WK is like, that's a show too that I'm not a music fan of Andrew WK, but someone had told me that if you're going to go to a concert and you have an opportunity to see Andrew WK, go see Andrew WK. And I went, and it was everything I was told it was going to be. And I was like, this is fucking insane and awesome. And I'm so glad I'm up in the rafters and I'm not down on the floor here because I was like, that was so goddamn cool, but I never want to be a part of that again.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same way. I don't necessarily love his music, but conceptually,
we saw him play too in Hartford.
We've seen him play, but at that era, in like the time when I saw him, it was like really like his era of like when we saw him. I saw him later, but he had like been on like a kids show, and it was sort of like a different experience. But seeing him play with the Locust in like an underground sort of punk atmosphere, at that age. And I met him after, and he like wrote this crazy letter to me, and conceptually, like I'm fascinated by him and his whole thing. But I forgot what I was going to say. But yeah, sorry, I forgot. I lost my train of thought there. But yeah, that was.
No, he is a fascinating individual, and my buddy tells a story because they used to go to the same vocal coach, and he's like, it would be funny that I'd be walking out after going to see the vocal coach, and he'd be sitting in the waiting room, and he had just come from work, and he's literally in a shirt and tie, and his hair is combed. He's like, and then so what he became with just a white t-shirt, long dripping hair, and he's like, it was just so funny because I remember the guy that was like in a shirt and tie, leaving work with his hair combed, coming to do vocal lessons.
Yeah.
The only time I saw him was at an art gallery in Hartford, but not like a local art gallery. It was the Wadsworth Museum in Hartford, which is like a huge, it's like Hartford's
first
like
gallery,
fine art gallery or whatever. And I don't know how that show ended up happening there, but it was like it was just a bizarre
I totally forgot
scene.
about that. He was performing in front of like a Picasso painting, like in the museum, like not even like a side room.
Yeah,
like, and there,
no barrier, just people like stage diving.
I totally forgot about that. Yeah, that was crazy. And I don't know, it's just hard to imagine. I don't know, like it's just he had like a moment in like the early 2000s. Sorry, I was flicking a polar can here, but yeah. Anyway, yeah, that was crazy.
All right, let's get to my pick your favorite child segment of the show, and hopefully you guys have different answers. But if no one has ever heard your band or your music, complete stranger, and they say, "Play me one of your songs," what song of yours are you playing them?
All right, we have a bunch to choose from. Let's see.
It's got to currently be released.
Currently be released, yeah, of course. Let's see. I'll go with something off the new EP. I'll go with the first song, "Trying to Be Kind." I think that, I don't know, I just think it's a good kind of summary of where we're at, what we're doing right now. Just loud guitars, good song, kind of gets right to it. And yeah, that's kind of my pick.
Grady?
I think Do It Again is one that we like to play live, but it's kind of harder to find on our Spotify, but sort of, I don't know, it's sort of a song that we like to keep playing. And in some ways, I don't know how, but it sort of communicates our, I don't know, ethos or something. I don't know how it does, but it just kind of sounds like really idiotic, clumsy, obnoxious, and just has a lot of, I don't know. It's just one of those songs that just like, it just sort of just sums us up in a lot of ways.
I love how humble you guys are. Jesus.
We have the
self-deprecating.
We have the super thoughtful song that I picked, the Trying to Be Kind, whatever, almost like too sincere. And then we have the Falling Down the Stairs song that Grady's talking about, Do It Again. So
that sums us up in a lot of ways. Like, I think in many ways we try to do those two things. Be so sincere that it's almost embarrassing, and then just be so like, just, smashing your head against a brick wall or like falling down the stairs and just like totally just idiot rock. That's sort of our two favorite modes to be in.
Oh, would you say either one of those are your favorite song you've ever released, Grady? Or do you have a song that's your favorite one to date in your discography?
I don't know. It's hard. We have a lot of songs. A lot of them, there's some of them I don't show. Even if I like the song, I don't necessarily share them with people because some of the recording quality makes me sort of wince a little bit at this point. But I think another one is Sunday. That's a really old one. One of like our first songs. And we still play that live sometimes. And it's just, again, it's hard for people to find because it's so far back on the Spotify. And
we've been a band for a long time. It's weird. But that would be one of my picks too. Sunday.
Yeah, for your favorite?
Yeah, for sure.
Nice.
Yeah.
Now, do you have a moment from performing in this current band that sticks in your mind for good or bad, that will just like occupies this little space in the back of your head that you're just never going to forget about, Mike?
Yeah. So our it's kind of easy. Our third show ever, we opened for Alkaline Trio for some reason. Just by chance, our friend was like the house sound engineer at this place, Toad's Place in New Haven. And Alkaline Trio was playing there. The opening band dropped off and he was like, "Hey, I think I can get you guys on the show. I know you have a new band." We're like, yeah, sure. So we get there, show up with all our stuff. We're like essentially teenagers at this point. And, we're standing in the empty venue and like some guy comes up and he's like, "What the hell are you doing here?" And we're like, "Oh, we're playing the show." And he's like, No, you're not. And it was like their tour manager or something.
He just was looking at us and he's like, No, you're not on our show.
He's like, "You guys aren't playing the show." And I don't know how, but somehow somebody talked someone into letting us play. And
he went upstairs for a bit and he for like 20 minutes and came back down and goes, "All right, you're good." He goes, you can there's some beer in the green room if you're even old enough.
And so we played the show to a bunch of people, and it was pretty memorable just because it was like one of our first shows, and it was, I think, the first time any of us had played in front of more than 20 people or something like that.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. Is that would you have that same memory, Grady, or do you have a different show that stands out in your mind?
No, I have a different one. I would say that we played we played at Urban Outfitters once, and it was an incredibly awkward experience, but it was really funny. I think they were just looking for like a kind of chill indie band to play like a holiday shopping night or something. Like they wanted like people to come into the store and like come see the bands and like buy stuff. But like our friend worked there and put us on the show, and it was just really awkward. Like we were stopping in between every song and just like I was just like going on these rants for some reason about Urban Outfitters, and the awkward silence in the room was just like we sucked the air out of the room, and it was uncomfortable in the moment, but really funny to look back on.
Again, this duality or whatever of the sincere this was actually like a really fun experience, and here's one where we are just falling down the stairs.
Yeah, there's kind of like a sick part of us that just likes to just almost sometimes just be terribly awkward on stage and just humiliate ourselves. And because if we saw that, we would be like, that was the funniest thing ever. And actually our bass player, Tim, used to come to all our shows, and he was the only one laughing in the audience at the Urban Outfitters.
In the audience. Yeah. So, or what was I going to? Yeah, I had something, but
I think I said that the store reminded me of Spencer's Gifts, because we were standing near a bunch of just like knickknacks and stuff like that at the time. And Mike was pretending that he was on TRL, standing in front of the window and waving at people because there was a big window.
It was right in downtown New Haven with floor to ceiling windows.
So that moments like that are funny to us, even though in the moment it's like, it's kind of uncomfortable.
We've started our set before where we would play a really slow song and purposefully like all just play it in a different key. And we did that one time. Just, I don't know. Sometimes we like to be antagonistic, but only in good fun, I guess.
And the looks on the people's faces, the looks on the people's faces are just like, they're like, what? They don't know if we're joking or whatever. And then when we start our set, sometimes it sometimes creates like a little moment.
It's fun to lose them and then try and
try to bring them back in.
Yeah.
Well, those are awesome experiences, though, to have those in your memory bank of things like that. A lot of people never get to experience that kind of stuff, and that's why I love hearing those stories. Like two completely different stories that are fucking really cool.
Definitely, we've played a lot of weird shows, played with a lot of cool bands, and it's when I actually like think about it, there's a lot of kind of strange, fun moments like that.
All right, sure. Now personally, is there a band in your life that never lets you down? It's like when you don't know what you want to listen to, you just always find yourself putting on this band or artist. I always say Rolling Stone will ask you who your favorite band is. I'm going to ask you who what band you listen to that never lets you down.
Yeah, I think I got a couple.
You're allowed more than one.
All right. So I think it's kind of like comfort food, where it's like something that I really liked when I was younger that still kind of hits for whatever reason. And one record is London Calling by The Clash. I got into that was kind of like the first thing that was punk, but like not the sound of punk that I initially got into. Like, it's all over the place stylistically. So, and for whatever reason, that one really hit me in middle school, and I, got into it and still like putting that record on every now and then. And the other is another comfort food thing is the record, How I Spent My Summer Vacation by the Bouncing Souls, which I think is probably my favorite of like, kind of like those Epitaph, Fat Records, punk stuff that I was into when I was younger. And that's one that I can put on, once or twice a year, listen all the way through and still really enjoy it.
Awesome. How about you, Grady?
I don't know. Do I have anything?
I don't know.
One thing that just like, for whatever reason, I don't know what this says about me, but I just love this band from Connecticut called Stab You in the Head. And I don't know what it is, but there's something comforting about listening to them. And they're not really around anymore, but I just find myself listening to it all the time. And at any given moment, a lot of times like their riffs are just stuck in my head. And it's been that way for probably 15 years at this point.
Highly recommended. My first, they used to be called X Stab X U X in X. Stab you in the head and eat your face off with X's between everything. And when I moved to Connecticut from California when I was going into high school. And at that time, there was the website interpunk.com where you could look up like bands from a certain state or country or wherever. And by this point in 8th grade, I was like fully into, punk music, whatever. So I was like, all right, let me look up bands from Connecticut because I'm moving there. And the first one that comes up is Stab You in the Head and Eat Your Face Off. And the album cover has like a guy with a leather jacket on it. And I listened to it, and it's like these songs that have like 45-second movie clips, and then like a 45-second hardcore song that only has guitar and drums with the snare drum turned off. And at the time I was like, what the fuck is this? This makes no sense. And now it's like one of my favorite things too. Yeah. They're Connecticut legends for sure.
Like, I mean, and I don't know. It's like it's a convergence of a lot of heavy music, like hardcore, grindcore, punk, power violence. Like, and I don't know. I still don't really know why that band, for whatever reason, it just makes me feel spiritually centered every time. Like if I'm sick of like trying to find new music or whatever, like I just find myself always putting them on, and it's pretty, I don't know.
Honorable mention to Trapped Under Ice, Big Kiss, Goodnight. That's another one. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I would think one of the reasons why maybe something like that is comforting is because it's also makes you think about things, right? How things can be imperfect, right? And what should be a perfect structure, how there can be imperfections and it still be really fucking good.
Definitely. I kind of find that if it doesn't have imperfections, then it's more difficult for me to connect with. It kind of loses the human element a little bit.
Yeah, some recordings I can't, even if the band is even if I like the band, sometimes a recording or something that's too perfect, I can't really hear. I don't know. There's just something missing.
That's why, bringing up early on Semi-Charmed Kind of Life is really weird, because that was the way that was recorded, was they had to bring in so many different people to make it good. That album to get the vocals right and do all these things, that was kind of like a perfect album that was made to be perfect but could never be recreated live.
Yeah, and I know the engineer, producer, or whatever, Eric Valentine, he has like a YouTube channel now where he walked through some of like how they recorded that and how he recorded some of the other records that he did, and it's pretty wild. He would like have somebody record a song, and then like halfway through the riff he would punch in like one chord because like the guitar is like slightly out of tune on that one chord or something like that. So and yeah, it kind of ends up having that 90s like super polished production that's like I don't know.
Yeah, nothing really ever sounded like
yeah, in real life nothing ever really sounded like that, which is kind of interesting on its own too, but yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
All right, how about Mike, is there something out of all the bands we've been talking about, music styles we've been talking about, something you listen to that people be really surprised that you get tons of enjoyment out of listening to?
I don't know if I know well enough to know if other people would be surprised, but something that I got really into that kind of surprised me in the past year or two was the band Blur, who I always kind of just thought of as like the
Park Life guys, or
song too. Yeah. No, I hadn't even heard Park Life, and they, in the past like year or two, that's kind of become one of my favorite bands. I think that like, especially like the early records, like Modern Life is Rubbish, are just incredible. And there's some really cool songs on there. The guitar playing is crazy, and I'm usually not one who cares at all about like what somebody's guitar playing is. And I don't know, it's weird. Like, I don't really understand how sometimes I hear a band and it just clicks with me. And that was just one of them that kind of surprised me. But I don't know if there's anything that like is so out there that, might surprise people. Like, I like,
guilty pleasures.
Yeah.
No, guilty pleasures.
Yeah. That's really what I'm looking for. And then people, I mean, when you're older, listen, I understand. They're all just pleasures, but I always say there's that millisecond someone catches you listening to something. You kind of get this like, ooh, I just got caught. But then you're like, whatever. I mean, I'm almost 50. And it happened to me the other day. Fucking I think I got Jamiroquai in my store.
Yeah. Something that might not be very cool that I still like really love is the band Say Anything.
Okay.
The first Say Anything record, I think is really sick. Yeah. I don't know.
Again, I don't know how surprising it is, but I listened to, just trying to think of a couple things that might, definitely not embarrassing at all, but I listened to like a lot of, like just like ambient, electronic music. I listened to an artist called Teebs a lot, and Aphex Twin, and just a lot of playlists of that kind of stuff. I have it on most of the time, just while I'm working, stuff like that. And but I also lately just love Smash Mouth. Like, I'm kind of obsessed with them and really like a lot of their stuff. I mean, I don't like all of it, but some of the songs and just the production. Again, Eric Valentine also produced them, same guy that did Third Eye Blind. Just dissecting a lot of what they do. For whatever reason, that has sort of been an obsession over the last year or so.
Well, yeah, that's more along the lines of what I was looking for.
His answer's much better than mine.
Yeah, because that is very. That's why I'm sorry that I grunted, but yeah, Smash Mouth. Wow, that's what. Yeah, it's
and I also love. I was just listening to Hanson the other day too.
Well, listen, I talked about them on their last album. I thought it was fucking amazing.
Their most recent one, I haven't heard it.
Yeah, it was so. I mean, I was so surprised, and I talked. It had to have been a year, maybe a year ago or a year and a half. But when that album came out, and for some reason, I was just like, Hanson's still putting out music, and I listened to it. I was like, holy shit, this is really fucking good.
That's crazy.
I'll have to check it out. I used to love them when I was a kid, and for some reason, the other day, I don't know why, but I checked them out again and sort of went through, some of their later stuff. There was an album they put out in 2000 called This Time Around, and I was listening to that and I was like, this is really good. And so, yeah.
I mean, they just continue to put out music, and like, it's crazy because, and listen, they got older, they got more mature, they started writing about different things, and it just was like, I don't know. I just say all that kind of stuff. I'm like, good on them, man. That's awesome. Like, they're still doing it, and they're like creating some great songs. I was like, wow. I was like, I'm thoroughly impressed.
I'll have to check that out.
All right, let's get a little emotional here. Do you remember the last song that you cried to, Mike?
Not cried to, but came close. Pretty sure I was probably a Bouncing Soul song. Again, just for some reason, something about music that I liked when I was younger, being and listening to it in a vulnerable emotional state or something, and then just not necessarily crying, but just kind of being overcome with
emotion
of some kind. So that's probably the closest. It's usually something that got me into music when I was younger that I revisit in a weird situation. Yeah.
All right, Grady.
Smash
Mouth. Smash Mouth. It's not really like the type of music you'd expect somebody to cry to. I don't know if I like actually have wept to them, but to be honest, the Ramones, maybe for two different reasons. On one hand, they are, I don't know, they're just like, it's just like, sort of intense music that's like every emotion sort of happening at once. I don't know if that's how most people would describe them, but also like just listening to them as a kid, I think, there might be like some sort of, I don't know, when you hear a song, it reminds you of being like, 10 years old. And I don't know, there is something emotional about being 10, just like, just thinking of yourself as an innocent child. And then, before you really realize that what the world is like, I think that is emotional.
Yeah. And that's I say it all the time. Music is a time machine. Closest thing in reality we have the one. You hear a song, you were brought back to that. You can see the sights, smell the smells, and remember everything about that moment.
Same with Smash Mouth. I think that is a huge reason why I've just become obsessed with them. But now I also appreciate it as an adult. The song from a songwriting standpoint.
He's being totally serious. By the way,
I talk about them all the time.
Good. I just want to make sure you didn't think he was.
No, I can tell.
Trying to get one over.
No, I can. I can hear in his voice, and I'm just like, I'm sitting over here, like just boggled by it. Like, it's just so funny to me that like that's wow.
Hey, that guitar riff in the chorus of All Star is messed up if you actually listen to it. So yeah.
Hey, now.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, you got 5 minutes left to live. The meteor's crashing into the earth, and you have to listen to one song. What song are you listening to, Mike?
Grady, you got one? I might have to think about it.
Turn Down for What? Maybe.
All right. Grady chooses Turn Down for What? I'm going to choose
Celebrate Good Times, Come On.
Celebrate Good Times, Come On. Smash Mouth. One song. Probably London Calling. We'd
probably blow up before we could even pick one.
Yeah, that's actually the real answer. Is
I'd be like trying to decide, and then we just.
I'd be sitting here just like trying. I'd be like picking a song forever, and then.
That's why you just got to put it in your phone as a one song playlist, so you know.
Yeah, no, that's a good one. I'm gonna have to think about that. I really don't know.
Yeah, I have the notes tattooed on my arm, so I'm never gonna.
Forget,
So.
Yeah.
All right. There's a fire in your house now. Taking aside pets and family and people, and you can only save one piece of music memorabilia or something musical that you own. What's the first thing you're grabbing?
Can it just be my guitar?
Yes, it can.
Yeah, it would probably be my guitar. It was like got my first tax return when I was like 18 or something, and spent it all on a guitar, and have had it since. And yeah. Probably just that.
Awesome. Grady.
I guess I would have to say the same. I can't think of anything else. I mean, yeah.
Sorry, it's a really important answer.
I'm sorry. Or trying to help you out.
I'll grab the there's a Ceremony 7-inch that I have that's a 45, and if you play it at 33 and a half or whatever, then it is the most devastating thing I've ever heard. Maybe I'd grab that too. He got his favorite or undertakings or something like that. Yeah.
We're sorry, Shane. We know you're just trying to, make a good podcast and everything. We're not doing our job over here.
No, you are. The Smash Mouth has already made this podcast fantastic.
We'll think of something else and you can edit it in later.
Yeah, I'm not going to do that. But no, so we're going to come into our final segment here. We always try to keep these things to an hour, a little over, but before we do that, whoever wants to let the fans of this show, and maybe your fans who don't know how to find everything that you guys do, now's a perfect opportunity to say something to them and then tell them all your handles on how they can find everything that Dagwood does.
Yeah, you can find us on social media at We Love Dagwood. Pretty sure it's the same across all of that. On Bandcamp at dagwoodct.bandcamp.com. Have all our records there. You can download them. Got some shirts, got some tapes, got some CDs on streaming, all that stuff. And I forget if there was another part to that or not. I'm trying my best.
No,
I think you nailed it.
Yeah, and as I say here all the time, people, please go purchase stuff from bands that you hear here that you like. Helps them go on to the next town, put gas in their car, put food on the table, anything, buy a sticker for $5 if you can. Anything helps. Streaming doesn't do it. Just remember that does not pay anyone's bills unless you're fucking Taylor Swift. So please purchase something directly from the artist.
Yeah.
So we are in our final segment. It is our weekly 3 segment. It is 3 things that you're listening to that you would like people to check out. You guys give your 3s, and then I give my 3 of the week.
All right. I'm going to go with some newer stuff that I've been listening to. One is the new Porches record, Shirt. I think, is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Yeah. That one's really good. The new High Viz record that just came out. Listened to that only a couple times, but I really like their other records, and this one seems like it's pretty good too. And then the band Rocket, I think they're from California.
They were on my 3s a couple weeks ago, and I just saw them perform at Best Friends Forever Fest.
So, hell yeah. Yeah, we saw them with Millie like last year or something in Connecticut, and they were great. But their EP Versions of You, is that what it's called? Whatever their EP, I think it's the only thing they have out, but that record's really great too. So that's kind of what I've been listening to, them, a few other things, but yeah.
Nice. Grady.
Besides Hanson and Smash Mouth, I have been listening the last couple weeks to a band called Thrush Hermit. You might be familiar with them because you love Sloan, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're from Halifax, Canada. And they're a really cool band from, I think, like 1996. Power pop, but, sort of played by, with a punk toolkit, I guess you could say. So I've been listening to them. Another power pop band I've been into lately is called the Super Friends, from that same kind of scene.
Yep.
And then I've also been listening to a band, or I guess it's like a duo, but it's called Callahan and Witcher. They have an album called Think Differently. And we were talking about Smash Mouth, and this is like, they just nailed it. They did the Smash Mouth thing, but in 2024 it just came out, and it's they nailed it. And that's a really great album.
Awesome. All right, my 3 for this week. First band is a band called Surfer Blood. They have an album called Carefree Theater. It's kind of indie rockish, from Florida. Number 2 is a band called Dead Air. They have an EP called City Sins. Very heavy riff-driven rock from the UK. I'd say think along the lines of Royal Blood, I guess. I would maybe compare them to. Don't like to do that, but I will. And last but not least is a band called Scuff. They have an EP called Through the Ceiling, kind of punk, hardcore-ish, emo adjacent band out of Jacksonville. Those are my 3 for this week.
Awesome.
Yeah, I haven't heard of any of those. I'll have to check them out.
Yeah, you have. Awesome.
Very cool.
But Grady, Mike, huge heartfelt thank you, first off, for being here, and secondly, for creating the music that brought us together and made me want to reach out to you. I think that's very important, and just goes to show what music can do. It can bring strangers together and can become fast friends because we're all here for the same thing, and it's the love of music. And you guys created some awesome music that brought me to you, and I truly, truly thank you so much for doing that.
Thank you so much, Shane. Really appreciate it.
Really enjoy doing this. It was fun. We've never done anything like this, so it's cool.
Well, I really appreciate that, and I do appreciate you guys being here and spending time and sharing everything with us and our fans and your fans, and really excited for things to come, and can't wait to make your acquaintance and shake your hand and meet you in person someday soon. But thank you guys so much.
Absolutely. Of course. Thank you.
Well, everybody, you know what time it is now. It's time to go out, listen to Dagwood, and have a great fucking time.
Chips off of the fence, oh yeah.
Thanks again for tuning into the Hidden Tracks podcast. We hope you enjoyed this week's show. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram at HiddenTracks99. Also, send all your submissions myhiddentracks99@gmail.com. Tune in next week. You may find your new favorite band, and don't forget to go out and have a great fucking time.